The galaxy moved on, but the alien girl still waited. Part 1. Luna sat in the corner of the cold metal cage as the slave ship rocked through space. Her pointed ears twitched at every sound, while her green eyes watched the guards through the bars. The Vexian slavers had caught her 3 weeks ago when she was gathering herbs on her home planet. They killed her family and burned her village before taking her away. The cargo hold smelled of fear and unwashed bodies. Dozens of other prisoners sat in similar cages. Some were humans, others looked like nothing Luna had ever seen before. All of them had the same hopeless look in their eyes. The slavers fed them just enough to keep them alive for the auction blocks on distant worlds. Luna touched the small dragon egg hidden in her robes. The slavers had not found it when they searched her. It was all she had left of home. Her grandmother had given it to her, saying that dragons chose their masters. The egg felt warm against her chest, as if something inside was trying to hatch. The ship suddenly shook violently, throwing everyone against the cage walls. Red lights began flashing and alarms screamed through the corridors. The Vexian guards grabbed their weapons and ran toward the upper decks, shouting orders in their harsh language. Luna pressed against the bars, trying to see what was happening. Through the small porthole, she could see bright flashes of light. Ships were fighting outside, but she could not tell who was attacking. The slave ship was old and slow. It would not survive long against military vessels. Luna wondered if these were pirates looking for easy cargo or something else entirely. A loud crash echoed through the ship, followed by the sound of cutting tools. Someone was trying to break through the hull. Luna felt the dragon egg pulse with warmth, as if it sensed the approaching danger, or perhaps hope. The other prisoners began to whisper among themselves, wondering if rescue was coming. The cutting sounds grew louder until finally a section of the wall fell away with a thunderous crash. Smoke poured into the cargo hold, followed by figures in dark armor. They moved quickly and efficiently, checking each cage and calling out in a language Luna did not recognize. One of the armored figures stopped at her cage and removed his helmet. Luna gasped when she saw his face. He was human, with brown hair and kind eyes that seemed to glow with determination. He looked young but carried himself like someone who had seen many battles. His uniform bore symbols she did not recognize. The human spoke to her in common, the trade language used throughout the galaxy. His voice was gentle despite the chaos around them. He told her his name was Jake Murphy and that he was captain of the ship Liberty Bell. He promised that she was safe now and that no one would hurt her anymore. Jake used a plasma cutter to slice through the bars of her cage. The metal glowed red hot before falling away. He reached out his hand to help her stand, but Luna hesitated. She had heard stories about humans. Some said they were dangerous, while others claimed they were noble warriors. She did not know which stories to believe. The dragon egg suddenly cracked in her robes. A tiny head poked out with scales that shimmered like jewels. The baby dragon looked around with bright, intelligent eyes before settling its gaze on Jake. It chirped once as if greeting him, then crawled up Luna's arm to perch on her shoulder. Jake smiled at the sight of the baby dragon. He said he had never seen one so young or so beautiful. He explained that his crew was freeing all the prisoners and would take them to safety. The Vexian slavers were either dead or had fled in escape pods, leaving their cargo behind. As they moved through the ship, Luna saw more of Jake's crew. They were all human but came from different worlds. Their uniforms were clean and well-maintained. Unlike the ragged clothes of mercenaries or pirates, they treated the freed prisoners with respect and gentle care, giving them food and medical attention. Luna learned that the Liberty Bell was a Federation vessel on patrol in this sector. They had received a distress signal from one of the prisoners who had managed to activate a hidden transmitter. Jake explained that the Federation had strict laws against slavery and would hunt down anyone who practiced it. The baby dragon on her shoulder seemed fascinated by Jake. It kept chirping and trying to climb toward him. Luna had read in old books that dragons could sense the true nature of people. This little one appeared to trust the human captain completely, which made Luna feel safer about her rescue. Jake personally escorted Luna to the medical bay, where a kind doctor named Lisa checked her for injuries. The doctor was also human, with gray hair and gentle hands. She gave Luna clean clothes and a warm meal, while explaining that they were heading to a safe station where Luna could decide what to do next. During the journey, Luna learned more about her rescuers. The crew of the Liberty Bell were explorers and peacekeepers who traveled the galaxy helping those in need. They fought pirates, protected trade routes, and rescued people like her from slavers. Jake told her that humans believed no one should be owned by another person. The dragon egg had fully hatched by now, revealing a beautiful creature with silver and blue scales. Luna named him Storm because his eyes sparked like lightning. The little dragon seemed to understand her words and would nod or shake his head when she spoke to him. Jake was amazed by how quickly the dragon was learning as they approached the station. Luna felt both grateful and afraid. She was free but had nowhere to go. Her home was destroyed and her family was gone. Jake seemed to understand her fear. He promised that she would be safe at the station and that good people would help her start a new life. The Liberty Bell docked at a large space station that buzzed with activity. Ships came and went, constantly carrying goods and passengers from across the galaxy. Jake helped Luna gather her few belongings, which now included her growing dragon companion. Storm had doubled in size during the journey and showed signs of great intelligence. Before they parted ways, Jake made Luna a promise. He said his ship would return to this station after completing their current mission. It might take time, but he gave his word that he would come back to check on her. Luna felt tears in her eyes as she realized this human truly cared about her well-being. As Luna walked down the ramp into the station, Storm riding on her shoulder, she looked back at Jake one last time. He waved and smiled, that same kind smile that had first made her trust him. She promised herself that she would wait for his return no matter how long it took. The galaxy moved on, but the alien girl still waited. Part 2. Luna stood on the observation deck of Haven Station watching ships arrive and depart through the massive viewport. Storm, perched on her shoulder, had grown larger in the 2 months since their rescue. His scales now shimmered with deeper blues and silvers while tiny sparks of electricity danced between his claws. The station administrator, Amy Parker, had given Luna quarters near the viewing area. She understood that Luna wanted to watch for Jake's return. Amy was one of the few humans who stayed on the station permanently. Most others were just passing through on trading missions or diplomatic journeys. Storm chirped softly and pointed with his wing toward a new arrival. Luna's heart raced as she saw the sleek lines of a Federation vessel, but her hopes fell when she realized it was not the Liberty Bell. The ship that docked was called the Horizon and carried supplies for the outer colonies. Amy found Luna in her usual spot by the window. The older human woman brought tea and fresh fruit from the station's gardens. She sat down beside Luna and Storm, who immediately climbed into her lap, seeking attention. Amy had become like a grandmother to both of them during their stay. Amy explained that Federation ships often worked on long missions that could last many months or even years. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, requiring constant patrols to keep the peace. Jake's promise to return was sincere, but military duty might delay him longer than expected. Luna nodded but kept watching the viewport. She had learned to read the different ship designs during her wait. Federation vessels had clean lines and bright markings, while pirate ships looked rough and dangerous. Merchant vessels were often round and bulky, designed to carry as much cargo as possible. Storm had begun showing new abilities as he grew. His tiny lightning sparks were becoming stronger, and he could now speak a few words in common. His first word had been Luna, followed by Jake and home. The little dragon remembered their rescuer and often asked when he would return. Other refugees had come and gone from the station during Luna's stay. Most were relocated to new homes within weeks or months of arriving. Luna was offered passage to several worlds, including the elven colonies near the galactic core. She always refused, saying she had promised to wait. The dragon egg that had been hidden in her robes during the rescue had revealed another surprise. A second dragon had begun growing inside what Luna thought was just a shell fragment. This one hatched 3 weeks after Storm, revealing a female with red and gold scales. Luna named her Ember. Ember was different from her brother. While Storm was curious and playful, Ember was fierce and protective. She breathed tiny flames instead of lightning and seemed to understand that Luna was vulnerable. The female dragon positioned herself between Luna and any strangers who approached. Amy brought news from across the galaxy through the merchant ships that visited the war between the Federation and the Vexian Empire was intensifying. Battles raged along the frontier worlds where colonists needed protection from slavers, and pirates Jake's ship was likely involved in these conflicts. Luna learned more about human culture during her stay. Amy shared books and movies that showed how humans lived on their many worlds. She was amazed by their diversity and creativity. Humans came in different colors and spoke hundreds of languages, but they all shared certain values about freedom and justice. The dragons grew rapidly, reaching the size of house cats within 6 months. Storm could now generate enough electricity to power small devices while Ember's flames could melt metal. Luna realized they were not ordinary dragons, but something much rarer and more powerful. Visitors to the station often stared at Luna and her dragons with wonder. Dragons were legendary, creatures that most people had only heard about in stories. The fact that Luna had 2 of them made her famous throughout the sector. Traders brought gifts hoping to see the mythical beasts up close. Some visitors made offers to buy the dragons, promising enormous sums of money. Luna always refused, explaining that Storm and Ember were not pets or property but family. The dragons seemed to understand these conversations and would growl or spark when strangers got too close. A Corvani merchant captain named Thex visited the station regularly, bringing news and supplies. He told Luna that the Vexian slavers who had captured her were all dead or imprisoned. The Liberty Bell had tracked down their base and destroyed it completely, ensuring no more innocents would suffer their fate. This news made Luna happy but also worried. If Jake had already completed his mission against the slavers, why had he not returned to the station? Thex explained that human military ships were often assigned new missions immediately after completing their current ones. The war required constant vigilance. Storm and Ember began showing signs of advanced intelligence as they matured. They could understand complex conversations and even read simple words. Amy suggested that they might be ancient dragons whose species had evolved far beyond normal animals. Luna wondered if her grandmother had known how special the eggs were. The dragons also developed a strong protective instinct toward Luna. When maintenance workers came too close or when drunk spacers got rowdy in the station bars, Storm and Ember would position themselves as guards. Their presence usually calmed any potential trouble before it started. As the seasons passed, Luna established routines that helped her cope with the waiting. She studied human languages and customs in the station library. She practiced meditation techniques that Amy taught her, and she trained with Storm and Ember, learning to work together as a team. The dragons' abilities continued to grow. Storm could now generate electromagnetic pulses that disabled electronic devices, while Ember could create flames hot enough to cut through starship armor. Luna realized they were becoming powerful enough to defend themselves against most threats. Amy warned Luna that her dragons were attracting attention from people who might not have good intentions. Several inquiries had come through official channels asking about the Dragon Keeper on Haven Station. Military leaders, crime bosses, and even scientists wanted to study or recruit Luna and her companions. Luna felt safe on the station, but worried about what might happen if she had to leave. Amy assured her that Haven Station was neutral territory, protected by treaty. No one could force her to go anywhere she did not want to, but the protection only extended as far as the station boundaries. The first year of waiting ended with no word from Jake or the Liberty Bell. Luna marked the anniversary by visiting the small shrine she had built in her quarters. It contained a piece of metal from the slave ship that Jake had cut away during her rescue. She prayed to her ancestors for patience and strength. Storm and Ember had grown to the size of large dogs by their first birthday. They were now capable of limited flight within the station's larger areas. Their intelligence had developed to the point where they could carry on simple conversations and even showed a sense of humor. Amy brought disturbing news from the frontier. The war with the Vexians had escalated dramatically. Several Federation ships had been reported missing, including vessels from Jake's fleet. Luna tried not to worry but found it harder to maintain her hopeful attitude as time passed. Despite the concerning news, Luna remained committed to her vigil. She had given her word to wait for Jake's return, and elven promises were not broken lightly. The dragons seemed to understand the importance of their watch and never suggested leaving the station permanently. As the second year began, Luna faced her greatest test of faith yet. Would Jake return as promised, or had something terrible happened to him and his crew? The galaxy continued to move around them, but Luna and her dragons remained constant in their patient wait. The galaxy moved on, but the alien girl still waited. Part 3. 2 years had passed since Jake's promise, and Luna felt her faith beginning to waver. Storm and Ember had grown to the size of ponies, their intelligence now matching that of adult humans. Storm could speak in full sentences, while Ember preferred to communicate through projected images that appeared in people's minds. The war news grew worse each month. Amy brought reports of massive battles along the frontier, where Federation forces struggled against renewed Vexian aggression. Entire fleets had vanished in the fighting, including many ships from Jake's battle group. Luna tried to stay hopeful, but doubt crept into her heart. Storm sensed his master's distress and asked difficult questions. Why did they wait for creatures with such short lives compared to elves? Why did humans fight wars that lasted longer than their individual lifespans? Why did Luna believe Jake would remember one rescued slave among millions of people he might have saved? Luna had no easy answers for her dragon companion. She explained that humans were different from other species. They formed bonds that transcended logic and self-interest. When Jake looked into her eyes during the rescue, she saw something that convinced her he would keep his word. Ember had developed a fierce protective streak that sometimes caused problems on the station. She would breathe warning flames at anyone who approached Luna too quickly or spoke in harsh tones. Several incidents required Amy's intervention to prevent serious conflicts with visiting traders and diplomats. The dragon's abilities had evolved beyond anything Luna had imagined. Storm could now generate electromagnetic fields strong enough to disable entire ship systems, while Ember's flames burned hot enough to cut through military-grade armor. They were no longer cute pets, but formidable guardians. Word of the Dragon Keeper spread throughout the galaxy, bringing visitors from distant sectors. Some came as tourists hoping to see mythical creatures. Others arrived with less innocent intentions. Luna received offers from crime lords, mercenary companies, and even government agencies seeking to recruit her growing powers. A particularly persistent visitor was Commander Rex Tyler of the Terran Defense Corps. He claimed that Luna's dragons could turn the tide of the war against the Vexians. Tyler offered her citizenship protection and enormous wealth in exchange for military service. Luna politely declined, but Tyler continued to pressure her. Amy warned Luna that Haven Station's neutrality might not protect her forever. The war was changing the political landscape, and powerful forces were taking notice of her unique situation. If fighting reached this sector, Luna might be forced to choose sides whether she wanted to or not. Luna spent long hours in meditation trying to connect with her ancestors' wisdom. The old stories spoke of dragons as guardians of cosmic balance. They chose worthy partners to help maintain peace between the forces of creation and destruction. Perhaps her role was larger than just waiting for one human's return. Storm had begun experiencing strange dreams that he shared with Luna through their mental link. He saw vast starfields and ancient worlds where dragons once flew freely. These visions suggested that Storm and Ember were part of something much older and more significant than anyone realized. The dreams also contained images of Jake and the Liberty Bell, but they were unclear and fragmented. Storm saw battles in dark space, flashes of plasma fire, and ships fleeing through hyperspace. Whether these were memories, visions of the present, or glimpses of possible futures remained uncertain. Ember's protective instincts led her to scout the station's docking bays every day, watching for threats or familiar ships. She had memorized the Liberty Bell's configuration from Luna's descriptions and would alert her companion immediately if anything matching appeared on the sensors. As the third year began, Luna faced a crisis that tested her resolve more than any previous challenge. A merchant captain named Carlos brought devastating news. He claimed to have witnessed the destruction of the Liberty Bell during a battle near the Proxima Nebula. All hands were reportedly lost, including Jake Murphy. The news hit Luna like a physical blow. Storm and Ember felt her anguish through their bond and released simultaneous roars that shook the station's superstructure. For the first time since beginning her vigil, Luna seriously considered that Jake might never return, and her wait might be meaningless. Amy tried to comfort Luna by pointing out that battle reports were often inaccurate, and that many ships reported destroyed later turned up safe. Carlos admitted he had not seen the Liberty Bell's actual destruction, only the aftermath of a major engagement. Identification of wreckage was difficult in deep space. Luna wrestled with doubt and despair as weeks passed without confirmation of Jake's fate. The dragons tried to maintain her spirits, but they were also affected by her emotional state. Storm's electrical discharges became erratic while Ember's flames burned with dangerous intensity. Other station residents encouraged Luna to accept reality and move on with her life. A colony ship called the New Horizon offered passage to a peaceful world where she could start fresh. Several alien species had planets that welcomed refugees, and her dragons would be revered as sacred guardians. The turning point came when Luna discovered an old data crystal in her belongings that she had not noticed before. It contained recordings her grandmother had made about dragon lore. According to the ancient texts, dragons lived for thousands of years, and their human partners were often tested by long separations. The recordings explained that dragons chose partners based on soul resonance rather than convenience. If Storm and Ember had bonded with her, it meant they sensed something special about her destiny. The waiting period was not punishment, but preparation for greater challenges ahead. Luna realized that her vigil was about more than just one human's promise. She was maintaining hope itself in a galaxy torn by war. Her faith that good people kept their word inspired others on the station. Maintenance workers, traders, and travelers all drew strength from her unwavering belief. Storm and Ember began showing new abilities that seemed connected to Luna's emotional state. When she felt hopeful, their powers grew stronger. When she despaired, their abilities weakened. This suggested a deeper connection between dragon magic and the faith that sustained it. Amy brought encouraging news from an unexpected source. A Federation intelligence officer had arrived at the station with classified information about missing ships. Several vessels reported destroyed had actually been operating in deep cover missions. Behind enemy lines, the Liberty Bell might be among them. The intelligence officer, Commander Sarah Wells, met privately with Luna to discuss the situation. She explained that Jake's ship had been assigned to a classified operation that required complete communication blackout for security reasons. The mission was ongoing but nearing completion. Wells could not provide details about Jake's location or mission timeline, but she confirmed that the Liberty Bell had not been destroyed as reported. The ship and crew were alive and following orders that prevented them from making contact with anyone, including family and friends. This news rekindled Luna's hope and strengthened her resolve to continue waiting. The dragons sensed the change in her mood immediately. Storm's electrical field stabilized while Ember's flames returned to their normal warm glow. They had never lost faith in their human friend. As the third year progressed, Luna established new routines that reflected her renewed commitment. She began teaching other refugees about patience and hope, sharing the wisdom her grandmother had passed down. Her quarters became an unofficial counseling center for those struggling with their own losses. The dragons took on greater responsibilities around the station. Storm used his electrical abilities to help with maintenance and repairs, while Ember's flames were used for metalworking projects. They had become valued members of the community, rather than just exotic curiosities. Luna's reputation spread beyond the station as stories of the faithful elf and her dragons reached other worlds. Poets wrote songs about her vigil, while artists created sculptures depicting her watching the stars. War refugees drew inspiration from her, example of maintaining hope against impossible odds. The waiting continued, but Luna no longer felt alone in her faith. She had built a community of believers who understood that some promises transcended time and distance. Her dragons had grown into magnificent creatures whose very presence reminded everyone that magic still existed in a technological galaxy. As year 3 ended, Luna felt stronger than ever in her conviction that Jake would return. She had survived doubt, despair, and devastating news. Her faith had been tested and proven unbreakable. The galaxy might move on, but some bonds were eternal. The galaxy moved on, but the alien girl still waited. Part 4. The fourth year brought unexpected changes to Haven Station. As the war finally began winding down, peace negotiations between the Federation and Vexian Empire created new hope throughout. the galaxy, but also uncertainty about what would come next. Luna continued her vigil, though Storm and Ember had grown large enough to carry riders. Storm now stood taller than Luna with wingspan that required the station's largest cargo bays for full extension. His electrical abilities had evolved to the point where he could interface directly with computer systems and power entire sections of the station. His intelligence rivaled that of the galaxy's greatest scholars. Ember had developed into a creature of terrible beauty with scales that shifted from deep red to molten gold. Her flames could now burn in vacuum and reach temperatures that rivaled stellar cores. She could melt through any known material but remained gentle as a kitten with Luna. Amy had aged visibly during the years of waiting, but her friendship with Luna never wavered. She brought news that the classified missions were being declassified as peace negotiations progressed. Many ships thought Lost would soon be returning home, including possibly the Liberty Bell. The Dragons had become local celebrities, with visitors traveling from across the sector just to see them. Storm enjoyed showing off his abilities for crowds, while Ember preferred to demonstrate her artistic talents by creating complex flame sculptures that told stories without words. Luna had established a small school on the station, where she taught refugee children about patience, hope, and the importance of keeping promises. Her story had inspired countless others to maintain faith during difficult times. The Dragon Keeper's School became famous throughout Federation. Space Commander Tyler returned to the station with a new offer as the war concluded. He explained that the Federation would need peacekeepers to patrol the former war zones and protect rebuilding colonies. Luna's dragons could ensure that slavery and piracy never returned to the liberated worlds. Luna listened politely, but explained that her commitment remained unchanged. She would wait for Jake's return, regardless of how the war ended. Her dragons had chosen their path and would not be swayed by political considerations. Tyler left disappointed, but respectful of her dedication. Strange dreams continued to visit Storm, and through their link, Luna began experiencing them as well. The visions showed ancient dragon homeworlds, where massive creatures soared between crystal spires. These dreams suggested that Storm and Ember were part of a legacy that stretched back millennia. The dreams also contained clearer images of Jake and his crew. They appeared to be working on some kind of deep space installation surrounded by ships Luna had never seen before. The visions implied that Jake's mission was more important than anyone realized and might affect the entire galaxy. Ember began displaying new abilities that seemed connected to time itself. She could sense events before they happened, and sometimes her flames would show images of possible futures. These glimpses were fragments and difficult to interpret, but they suggested that major changes were approaching as peace treaties were signed and military units began returning home. Luna felt both excitement and nervousness. The end of the war meant Jake's mission might soon be complete, but it also meant her long wait was approaching its conclusion. She wondered if she was ready for whatever came next. Amy brought official confirmation that the Liberty Bell was alive and returning to Federation space. The ship had been involved in a top-secret project that prevented all communication for security reasons. Jake and his crew were heroes whose sacrifices had helped end the war. The news filled Luna with joy but also anxiety. For 4 years of waiting, she had built her entire life around the vigil. What would happen when Jake finally returned? Would he still remember his promise to a rescued slave girl? Would he approve of how much she and the dragons had changed? Storm and Ember sensed their companions' mixed emotions and tried to reassure her through their bond. They reminded Luna that true friendship transcended time and that Jake had risked everything to save her. The human who made that promise would not have changed so much that he would break it. Preparations began throughout the station as word spread that the Liberty Bell was finally coming home. Amy organized a welcome celebration, while maintenance crews prepared the best docking bay for the long-awaited arrival. Luna tried to remain calm but found it impossible to contain her excitement. The dragons seemed to understand the significance of the approaching reunion. They groomed themselves carefully and practiced their best behaviors. Storm rehearsed the words he wanted to say to Jake, while Ember created small flame sculptures as gifts for the human who had saved their master. Luna spent hours choosing what to wear for the reunion. She had grown from a frightened refugee into a confident, young woman but wanted Jake to recognize the person he had saved. Her simple robes had been replaced by elegant gowns befitting her status as the station's most famous resident. As the day of arrival approached, Luna found herself unable to sleep or eat properly. Storm and Ember stayed close to comfort her with their presence. They had become magnificent creatures whose very existence proved that magic and wonder still existed in a galaxy dominated by technology. The final night before Jake's return, Luna climbed to the highest observation deck with her dragons to watch the stars. One more sunrise would end the longest wait of her life. She wondered if Jake would be surprised by how much Storm and Ember had grown, or how famous their story had become. Amy joined them on the observation deck, bringing hot chocolate and warm blankets for the vigil's final hours. She had become like family to Luna and the dragons over the years. Their friendship had sustained all of them through the difficult times when hope seemed impossible. Storm asked Luna if she was afraid of what tomorrow might bring. She admitted that she was nervous, but not afraid. Her faith in Jake's promise had never wavered even during the darkest moments. The human who cut her chains would not break his word about returning. Ember projected images of her dreams into the night sky, showing scenes of reunion and joy. Her visions suggested that tomorrow would bring not just the end of waiting, but the beginning of new adventures together. The dragon's precognitive abilities had never been wrong. As dawn approached, Luna felt a strange peace settle over her spirit. The long wait was almost over, and soon she would see Jake Murphy again. The man who had shown her that humans could be trusted with the most precious things in life, including hope itself. The dragons pressed close to their companion as the first rays of sunlight painted the station's hull in golden hues. They had shared every moment of the vigil and would share the joy of its completion. Luna looked out at the approaching ships and smiled, knowing that some promises were worth waiting a lifetime to see fulfilled. Today, the Liberty Bell would dock at Haven Station. Today, Jake Murphy would keep the promise he made to a frightened elf girl in a slave ship's cargo hold. Today, the galaxy would witness that human honor transcended time, distance, and the chaos of war itself. Luna stood ready to greet the man who had changed her life. With dragons at her side and faith in her heart, the waiting was almost over, but the real adventure was about to begin. The galaxy moved on, but the alien girl still waited. Part 5. The alarm chimes echoed through Haven Station as 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge. Luna's heart raced as she recognized the distinctive silhouette of the Liberty Bell. Even after 4 years of waiting, Storm and Ember roared with excitement, their enhanced senses confirming what Luna's eyes had already told her. Amy rushed to the observation deck where Luna stood, transfixed by the approaching vessels. The Liberty Bell looked different now, bearing scars from countless battles and modifications that spoke of the dangerous missions it had undertaken. Its hull plates were scorched and patched, but the ship flew with the same proud bearing. Luna remembered the docking procedures seemed to take forever. As Luna waited in the station's main receiving area, Storm perched on her left shoulder while Ember claimed the right. The dragons had insisted on being present for the reunion despite their size, forcing maintenance crews to remove wall panels to accommodate their wingspan. Station personnel gathered to witness the historic moment as the airlock seals engaged and pressure equalized. Amy stood beside Luna, offering silent support, while hundreds of refugees and residents crowded the upper galleries. They had all heard the story of the patient elf who waited for her human savior. The airlock doors hissed open, revealing figures in Federation uniforms that looked older and more weathered than Luna remembered. The first person through was a woman with captain's stripes, followed by crew members Luna did not recognize. Her heart sank until a familiar voice called her name. Jake Murphy stepped through the doorway and Luna felt tears streaming down her face. He looked older, with new scars on his face and gray threading through his brown hair. But his eyes still held the same kindness that had convinced her to trust him during the rescue. His smile was exactly as she remembered. Storm and Ember launched themselves from Luna's shoulders and flew circles around Jake, chattering excitedly in their own language before landing gracefully at his feet. Jake stared in amazement at the magnificent creatures that had grown from tiny hatchlings into legendary dragons. Luna walked slowly toward Jake, uncertain if she should run to him or wait for his reaction. He had promised to return, but she had changed so much during the 4-year wait. She was no longer the frightened slave girl he had rescued, but a confident woman with responsibilities and her own growing legend. Jake stepped forward and embraced Luna gently, as if she might disappear if he held too tightly. He told her she looked beautiful, and that he was sorry for taking so long to keep his promise. His voice carried genuine emotion as he explained that not a day had passed without him, thinking of her safety. The reunion celebration lasted through the night as Jake's crew shared stories of their secret mission. Deep, in unexplored space, they had been establishing hidden bases and supply depots for the peace negotiations work that required complete communication blackout to prevent enemy interference. Jake explained that his ship had been chosen for the mission because of their reputation for protecting civilians and keeping promises. The Federation command knew that any crew willing to risk everything for one slave girl could be trusted with the galaxy's most important secrets. Luna introduced Jake to the community she had built during his absence, the refugee school, the Dragon Sanctuary, and the meditation center that had grown around her vigil. Jake was amazed by how much good had come from her decision to wait and maintain Hopestorm demonstrated his electrical abilities by powering the station's main computer core while speaking in perfect common about the years of waiting. He thanked Jake for keeping his promise and for showing them that humans could be trusted with matters of honor. Ember created flame sculptures that told the story of their vigil in vivid detail. The images showed Luna's struggle with doubt, the arrival of disturbing news, and the community that sustained her faith. Jake watched in wonder as the dragon's art revealed the depth of Luna's commitment. Amy tearfully explained how Luna had become the heart of Haven Station, inspiring countless others with her unwavering belief that good people kept their promises. She had turned a simple refugee shelter into a beacon of hope for the entire sector. Jake offered Luna and her dragons positions on his crew as he had promised years before. The Liberty Bell was being assigned to exploration missions in the newly peaceful galaxy, where her unique abilities would be invaluable for discovering new worlds and making first contact with unknown species. Luna accepted without hesitation, explaining that she had always known this day would come. The dragons were eager to explore space and use their powers to help others, just as Jake had helped them. Storm and Ember had grown powerful enough to defend any ship they served on. The station's residents organized a farewell celebration that lasted 3 days, as Luna prepared to leave the place that had been her home for 4 years. Many refugees credited her example with helping them survive their own dark times and rebuild their lives. Commander Tyler arrived for the departure ceremony. With official recognition from the Federation Council, Luna was awarded the Medal of Honor for her service to galactic peace and her inspiration to war refugees. The Dragons received honorary commissions in the Federation fleet. Amy chose to remain on Haven Station, but promised to keep Luna's quarters ready in case she ever wanted to visit. The older woman had become like a mother to Luna, and the separation was difficult for both of them. Their friendship had sustained them through the darkest hours. As the Liberty Bell prepared to depart, Luna took one last look at the observation deck where she had spent so many hours waiting. The spot had become a shrine to patience and faith, visited by travelers from across the galaxy who needed reminding that hope could overcome any obstacle. Jake showed Luna to her new quarters aboard the Liberty Bell, where Storm and Ember would have space to stretch their wings. The ship had been modified during the long mission to accommodate the dragons and their growing abilities. The crew was excited to work with such legendary creatures. The departure from Haven Station was bittersweet as Luna said goodbye to the place that had shaped her from refugee into legend. The station's residents gathered at viewing ports to wave farewell as the Liberty Bell undocked and prepared for its first mission. With the famous Dragon Keeper, Luna stood on the ship's bridge with Storm and Ember at her sides, watching the stars wheel past as they entered hyperspace. Jake had kept his promise after 4 long years, proving that human honor transcended time and distance. Their adventures together were just beginning. The galaxy had moved on during Luna's vigil, with wars ending and peace returning to former battlefields, but some things remained constant. The bond between friends, the power of kept promises and the magic that happened when different species worked together for the greater good. As the Liberty Bell jumped to its first destination, Luna reflected on the lessons learned during her long wait. Patience had been rewarded, faith had been justified, and hope had proven stronger than despair. She had waited for one human's return and discovered that some promises were worth any sacrifice. Storm and Ember settled into their new roles as ship's guardians, using their abilities to protect the crew and assist with dangerous missions. Their legend had grown during the waiting years, and now they would add new chapters exploring unknown worlds and making contact with alien civilizations. Jake told Luna that the Federation had plans for long-term exploration missions that could last years or even decades. Her experience with patience and her dragon's longevity made her perfect for such assignments. The waiting had prepared her for even greater adventures. The story of the faithful elf who waited 4 years for her human savior became legend throughout Federation space. Monuments were built on Haven Station and other worlds celebrating the power of kept promises and the bonds that transcended species differences. Luna's vigil had ended, but her real life was just beginning. She had learned that waiting for something worthwhile was never time wasted. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but the greatest treasure was the trust between friends who never abandoned each other. The Liberty Bell sailed toward distant stars, carrying Luna, Storm, and Ember to new adventures that would become new legends. The patient elf had finally been reunited with her human friend, and together they would explore the infinite possibilities of a peaceful galaxy. The wait was over, but the promise endured forever, proving that human honor and alien faith could overcome any obstacle when they worked together toward a common goal. The galaxy had moved on, but some bonds were truly eternal.